This is the new Mercedes AMG GT, and it's a little bit like the annual release of the iPhone, because while it may look pretty much identical to before, actually underneath the skin there are some serious hardware upgrades. Wait a minute, who's giving me an iPhone 11? We're supposed to be on iPhone 13 now. Crap prop. Anyway, this is not a crap car, and I'm going to talk you through the exterior, the interior. I'm going to tell you about its performance upgrades, because this is the most powerful Mercedes ever. To prove it, I'm going to launch it to see how quick it is from 0 to 60 miles an hour and over the standing quarter mile. Can it put in a better time than a BMW M5 CS? You're going to find out in this video. Also, you're going to find out what it's like to drive in town, on the motorway, on a twisty road, and on track, and what it's like for hooning around in as well, because I'm Matt Watson and you're watching Carwow. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon to turn your notifications on. That way you won't miss one of these videos. Buy, sell, Carwow. Let's start this video with the most important upgrade Mercedes AMG have made, and it's this here. Though there's so much more to show you, I need something a little bit more illustrative. Here's an exhibit of the car's hybrid system. So you've got your 4-litre twin-turbo V8, which puts out 639 horsepower. There's your drive shaft to the front wheels, because obviously it's got 4-wheel drive. This is your 9-speed automatic gearbox with multi-clutches. Then you've got your 4MATIC Plus 4-wheel drive system, which sends power to the rear axle. But here at the rear axle, you've got a 204 horsepower electric motor. Now, that includes a limited slip differential, which can send power to whichever wheel has the most grip, the optimum corner extending traction. There's also a clutch plate here, which allows this motor to actually send power back to the front if you need some extra power up there. Then you've got the battery system. So you've got 6 kilowatt hour battery there. It's not that big a capacity, but the cells in there are really high performing. They can produce continuous power of 70 kilowatts. What does all that mean? I'm going to find out when I launch it a bit later on in the video. You see, combined, this hybrid system puts out 843 horsepower and 1,470 newton meters of torque. It is the most powerful road-going Mercedes ever. Now, you can get some lesser models, and if you want to see their specs now, have a look here. Just pause the video. Now let's see what this big AMG is like when you're just cruising on the motorway, because one of the benefits of an electric motor is that it fills in that torque gap when you first put your foot down, and in some ways it's good. So if I just flex my right foot a little bit, the car does sometimes just pick up nicely, and you can just feel the electric motor doing its job. Other times though, depending on what gear you're in, there's like this slight kind of confusion, because you've got to remember this car, it's got 8 cylinders, 2 turbos, a 9-speed automatic gearbox, multi-clutches, then it's got a rear-mounted motor with 2 gears, and all that stuff has to talk amongst itself to decide what to do, and sometimes it can't quite decide what to do. So you'll put your foot down, and then there's like a bit of a jolt and another jolt, and as different things are happening, from the turbo spooling up, the electric motor kicking in, maybe kicking down a gear, the normal gearbox kicking down a gear or 2 or 3. It's not as seamless as it probably should be. And then I'm thinking, so I'm cruising along, and yes, while it's great that this thing can theoretically do 35 miles per gallon, that's when you're really maximising the use of the battery. But remember, it's only 6 kilowatt hours, so that ain't going to get you very far. I've been watching this battery level just deplete and deplete and deplete, and I'm actually averaging 10.9 litres per 100 kilometres, which is this miles per gallon, and that's with battery. And if you go far, you're going to just rinse through that battery really quickly, and effectively then you've just got a powerful car that's carrying over 200 kilos extra weight wherever it goes, just for added power. It's not really helping your economy. Mind you, they do call it e-performance, so I suppose I can let them off. Actually, we're coming to a long hill now, so I'm going to press this button. I'm going to full regen mode to try and put some energy back into the battery. Oh look, it's going in the right direction now, and so too is my efficiency. So I was doing like just about 26 miles per gallon. See if we can get that to something a bit higher. I'm getting overtaken by literally everybody. It's worth it though. You can see just how small the battery is by how quickly I can actually add percentages to it while just slowing down, going down a hill using the regen. Oh look, another percent. And can we get to 10 litres per 100 kilometres exactly? 10.1. Come on, before we reach the incline. I'm not going to engage the petrol engine. Come on, let's just eke some more. Come on, come on, come on. There we go, 10. Let's go. Foot down. And there's the example of it all just being a bit hesitant. Electric motor took me off, and then I could feel the change down, and then the petrol motor kick in, and if you want that instant punch, go full electric. Don't mess around with plug-in hybrids. They're a compromise. Now let's talk about the design of the car. So really, there's very little change compared to the pre-facelift model. However, obviously you've now got the e-Performance added to the range, and that one has red badging for the GT63S. There's also this rather conspicuous charge port here, the rear bumper, which quite frankly looks a bit crap. Quite like the diffuser though, and the exhaust, and depending on which model you have slightly different exhaust. And they're not completely fake, but they are exaggerations because the actual exhaust pipes are within there. Moving down the side, wheel sizes start at 19 inches for the lesser models such as the GT43, rising to 21 inches, which you get as standard on the e-Performance model. Obviously it's a sleek four-door coupe, looks great down the side. The only thing I don't like is this fake vent here. Once again, with the e-Performance you have special badging where you have the V8 bi-turbo logo. What do you think of the alloy wheel design? I'm not sure about these bits here. What I'm sure about is that you get carbon ceramic brakes on the e-Performance model. You can get carbon ceramics on lesser versions as an optional upgrade. Anyway, moving around to the front, once again you get the I can't even say the name of it, I don't know, that grille that Mercedes does for its AMG cars. However, they have redesigned the lower bumper, so the air intakes and fins are slightly different to before, but still, as ever, it looks dead aggressive and pretty cool if you ask me. Now, the starting price of this car actually ranges from around £80,000 for the GT43 model, rising all the way up to £173,000 for this e-Performance version. So if you're thinking about getting one of these, you're probably going to need to sell your current car and maybe some of your friends' cars as well to get the cash together. And if you want to make sure you're getting a great price on the car you're selling, click on the pop-out banner up there for the link in the description below to go to Carwow. Just upload some photos of your car and give a brief description, and our dealers from across the country will bid on your car so you can make sure you get a great price and you pick the best deal. They'll come to your house, take your car away and put the money in your account. It's dead simple. If you want to do that at a later date, simply Google "Wow Me Carwow" and we will wow you. Here on the inside, the MG GT is pretty much the same as before. So this swooping dash, big screens, this large center console with the buttons laid out in two banks of four to signify the V8 engine, some nice sport seats, leather, carbon fiber. However, there are a few things that are new. For instance, you get some electrified menus for the e-hybrid model. Look there, battery indicator, charge. You've also got energy flow there as well. You also get a new steering wheel in this revised MG GT, and on this e-hybrid, this driving select dial here has an EL mode. Very electric. And then on this side, instead of the normal exhaust selector, so loud or quiet exhaust, you just have a sound wave. Let's find out exactly what that does. I'm going to do a little sound check now. First of all, I'm going to go through this tunnel and accelerate, so you'll hear the V8 engine with a little mix of AMG electrification performance sound. See what you think. I'll put it in drive. Here we go. Now I'm going to go into electric mode and see what noise it makes now. Because not only does it make electric sporty sound on the inside of the cabin, it also emits it on the outside at speeds below 80 kilometers an hour, so 50 miles an hour. You ready? Have a listen to this. See if you can hear it when I accelerate. Do you notice that? Electric V8. Which did you prefer the sound of? Let me know by voting in the pinned comment and down there. Now I'm going to see what this AMG GT e-Performance is like to drive in town. And one of the great things about it is that you can just run in electric power. So you hear that the engine switched off, but I'm still good to go. I'll never learn. Put it in drive. There we go. So the good thing about this is, from a sports car fan point of view, is I don't like getting in a high performance car to do a short journey because you heat cycle the engine and that's not good. So if you just nip into the shops and stuff like that, you want to do it in electric power because then you don't have to start up the internal combustion engine and that'll just prolong its life. It makes you feel good about yourself. It means that you've got mechanical sympathy. Now you can do 8 miles on electric power alone, which isn't very far, but that's fine for just a few bits and bobs around town. And what AMG has done is actually put a little step in the throttle pedal about halfway down where it lets you know that if you go past that step, you'll actually wake up the petrol motor. So here we go, look, I can feel the step now. And there, the engine kicked in. So you can quite easily just make sure that you don't do that. So come on, let's go back into EV mode. This is definitely a benefit. So you can plug the car in at home, drive it around town, never use the internal combustion engine, keep that for when you want to have a jolly good blast down a twisty road or go a longer distance on the motorway. Even in electric only mode, the pickup is pretty good compared to some other plug-in hybrids. I mean, 200 horsepower, it's not bad, is it? Here in the back of the AMG GT, it might not be quite as salubrious as an S-Class, but I've got plenty of room considering this is a serious performance car. So lots of knee room, headroom's good despite that sloping roof line. You can get a 3-seater bench or this kind of more sporty 2-seater setup. And I must say, these seats are quite body hugging, which is a good thing if someone's driving quickly. Speaking of which, let's really get and try out this car's performance to see what it's like to drive on the limit. Okay, here we go. I'm about to take a plug-in hybrid that weighs 2.4 tons out on track, which may seem stupid, but you know, it's got performance in its name. This hybrid isn't about economy, it's about power, and Mercedes-AMG knows a thing or two about hybrids on track, don't they? I knew I shouldn't have said that M word. Cancel! She's going to try and talk to me. I'm sorry. Can you say that again, please? I'm trying to drive on track. Will you shut up, please? I'm sorry, but I can't help you with it right now. Ditto. Anyhow, first thing you notice, the weight. Feels like a heavy car, but it sort of still has a fun element. So when you turn it into a corner, you can feel it rotate around. And boy, once you apex, there is so much power. You've got to be careful how you deploy it, because if you're suddenly going through a chicane, you can be ending up going quicker than you really wanted to into the next part of the turn. But my God, at the end of a long straight like this, you do feel very sorry for the brakes. Thankfully, the carbon ceramics have plenty of stopping power and don't really fade, but the tyres are pointing up with some serious stress. Do you know what? Driving this car on track was quite an eye-opener, because actually out here, the hybrid system performed faultlessly, whereas on the road it sometimes got a bit caught out. It's a hybrid system that likes to be thrashed. Classic AMG. Now I'm going to try this car on a twisty road. First thing I'm going to do is put the suspension from Comfort into Sport Plus. That's the sportiest setting. There's 3 different settings for the suspension. And actually AMG has changed the suspension compared to the previous generation of this car to give it a wider breadth as you move through the different settings. This e-performance model has the same hardware as the standard V8 versions, but it's recalibrated to cope with the car's extra weight. Speaking of which, you don't notice the extra weight that much on a twisty road in the way that it stands out a little bit when you try to hoon this thing around a track. Only when you get to the very tightest of turns do you think, wait a minute, I'm driving a particularly heavy car. For instance, I'm about to come to a serious hairpin where the front tyres are really going to have their work cut out to hold onto the road. Still made it round, you don't get too much body lean either. Do you know what though? I'm actually going to switch the suspension into the halfway setting, the sport setting, because that's probably better for on the road. And do you know what? I think AMG's engineers have done a good job with this car suspension. I don't think it rides quite as well as the all-electric AMG EQS, but it's not bad. And I've got to give a special shout out to the brakes. Carbon ceramics can be a little bit grabby when you're just driving around town or at slower speeds. Also, when you have regen effect, that can feel a little bit grabby as well. And if you combine the two together, it could be an utter show, but it's not. The brakes on this car are really progressive and easy to control. So whether you want to just slow steadily or if you want to stomp on them hard on track, they never feel anything other than perfectly natural and easy to use. Good work, AMG engineers.
A few minutes later.
Okay, I've just been giving all the praise to the brakes, and I've just noticed this. They've started to make this noise. Hear that? I'm going to do that again. Oh my God, brakes, you've gone and let yourself down after I've been singing your praises. Cars such as this are designed to be good at crossing continents with you and your luggage when you go on a holiday. So they need to be reasonably practical. And it's good this has a hatchback tailgate because it makes loading easier. What doesn't help is a large load lip. But on this hybrid version, you've got all the electronics under here, and that reduces the capacity to 335 litres. And that brings us to 5 annoying things about the new AMG GT 4-door. While Mercedes-AMG actually makes quite a wide range of AMG GT 4-doors, from the 43 all the way to this E-Performance model, in the UK you can only get the E-Performance model. Just that, no other choices. Thanks very much. The headrest on the sports seat actually protrudes outward a little bit that way. It's fine normally, but if you're on track wearing a helmet, it pushes your head forward like that, which is a little bit uncomfy. You can't seem to separately turn off the fake electrified performance sound to allow you to listen to just the V8, so you have to put up with it just whistling away in the background. Have a listen to this, you see. So I'm getting V8 goodness, followed by something that sounds a little bit like a ghost going, ooh, listen again. It's like, ooh, I'm driving a V8, ooh, I've come to haunt you, ooh, scary ghost. You can only control the heads-up display through the heads-up display itself. So if someone has altered it so it's now low and out of your vision, then you can't change anything. It's ridiculous. Due to all the extra battery stuff, the hybrid version of the AMG GT63S weighs 240 kilos more than the standard petrol V8. It's not all negative though. Here's 5 good things about this car. You can actually configure the car's driving dynamics through a wide range of parameters in individual modes. So there's all those different choices for the engine response. You can obviously go manual or automatic for the gearbox. You can alter the severity and how aggressive that limited slip differential is. You can also change the suspension between 3 different settings and obviously mess around with the engine sound. You can get the AMG GT with rear wheel steering, which makes it a bit more manoeuvrable than it would otherwise be at low speeds. It means the turning circle is 12.2 meters, which is acceptable for a car of this length. And that system comes as standard on the E-Performance version. This may be a hybrid, but you do still have AMG's fully switchable rear drive drift mode. So, hoonage. That's enough of that silliness. You can get this car with dynamic engine mounts, which will hold the engine more firmly when you're going through corners quickly, so that it just feels a bit more stable. In the e-hybrid model, you can alter the amount of regenerative braking you get when you lift off the accelerator from none at all, so it'll just completely coast, to setting 1, setting 2, or the most aggressive, setting 3. Mercedes says this car can do 0 to 60 miles an hour in 2.9 seconds, but what is the reality? Well, we're going to find out now with my specialist timing gear. And seeing as we're on a racetrack with a straight, I'm going to do a quarter-mile time as well. Okay, let's do this. Right. I've got Mercedes lady piping up. He did a 3.02 and she's still talking, and the quarter mile 11.05. Okay, I reckon it can go quicker than 11.05 over the quarter mile and quicker to 60. So let's do it again, and hopefully we won't be disturbed by the Mercedes, no, don't say the word, by her. This time I'm going to put it in ESP Sport mode, see if that helps. Bit of a delay there, but we did it. 2.97 to 60. What's the quarter mile? 10.98. Traction control did interfere a little bit again when you're getting the changing of the electric motor's gearbox. A little bit of confusion. Let's go fully off and see if we can get an even better time. Final attempt. That was much smoother. Oh yes, 2.84 to 60, 10.75 for the quarter mile. Oh yeah! Now what I'm going to do is show you some comparisons with the normal AMG GT63S and the BMW M5 CS. There you go. Now I'm going to do a brake test from 60 miles an hour, see how long it takes this car to stop. Here we go, full emergency stop. Oh, right. Oh, that's impressive. The car stopped from 60 miles an hour in 32 meters. Considering how heavy this thing is, that is really impressive. So then, what's my final verdict on the Mercedes AMG GT 4-door? Should you avoid it? Should you consider it? Should you shortlist it? Or should you just go right ahead and buy it? Well, in the case of the 63S, the normal V8, I'd say shortlist it. It's a great car. But this e-hybrid, I'd avoid it. I just think it's too expensive, overcomplicated, and while the performance figures are impressive on paper, it isn't really that much faster than a BMW M5 CS, which is less expensive and far better to drive, especially on track. Sorry, Mercedes, is true.